Well, we no longer have to wait for Gamescom because Square Enix has officially announced the release date for the PC version of Final Fantasy XVI, and they even shadow dropped a demo. So this is pretty awesome. This news comes to us directly from the Final Fantasy XVI Twitter account, where they have announced the official release date for Final Fantasy XVI on PC for September 17th. That's literally right around the corner, less than a month away. And a lot of us assumed that the game would probably launch on PC somewhere between August and October. September seems like a pretty solid date for the game, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe God of War Ragnarok also launches on PC that same week, so it's going to be a little bit crowded. But I've had so many comments on my channel over the past year or so of people saying they really want to play this game, but they don't have a PS5. And now with the PC release coming up, they can try it out. And to make things even better, it's going to be available simultaneously on Steam and Epic Games Store. So there's no weird exclusivity going on with Epic Games like you had with the 7 Remake trilogy, which is super nice. And I don't know if they ever confirmed this, but I believe this game was developed on a modified engine that they used for Final Fantasy XIV. So because of that, they don't have any weird exclusivity, and it can launch on both of these different launchers. Now, what's also cool is that they shadow dropped a demo for the PC version as well. From my understanding, it's going to be the same demo that launched on the PS5. So it's going to be the first 2 hours or so of the game that kind of gives you a good slice of what the game's going to be in terms of its combat, setting up the story and the characters. And to be quite honest, the opening of that game might be the best part of that game. It's just really well paced, really well structured, and the combat is super fun, and they really ease you into, all of the things that you really need to know. It's a very entertaining opening. And with that demo being out there, you can now gauge as well if your computer can actually run this. I know for a fact my computer would probably explode if I downloaded this demo and tried to play it, but I'm gonna do it later just to see if I can actually get it to run. Now, what's great about the PC version of this game, and for those of you who waited to play the game on PC, you are getting the complete edition of Final Fantasy XVI. That means you're getting all of the great quality of life updates that they released on the PS5 version way after launch, but you're also getting DLC. Now, some of those improvements include graphical updates, improvements to frame rate, quality of life with the button controls and the button schemes. You can now remap every button on the controller. And one of the biggest quality of life things was the quest system. In the standard version of 16, when you finished a quest, you would have to make your way back to the quest giver via going to the map or doing fast travel. But now they have implemented the ability to just teleport back to the quest giver so you don't have to waste more time doing that stuff, which is super nice. I do wish they would have included a sprint button, but it looks like we're never going to get that. And as for the DLC, I have played both DLCs, Echoes of the Fallen and the Rising Tide. If you're somebody who really loves the combat of Final Fantasy XVI, you're probably gonna love the Echoes of the Fallen DLC. It's a little bit shorter, I think closer to 3 or 4 hours, and it focuses primarily just on combat. It's kind of like, I think it was called Bloody Palace in the Devil May Cry games, where you're just moving from level to level, fighting increasingly more difficult enemies with mini bosses along the way, until you get to the final showdown with Omega, which might be one of the most difficult fights in all of Final Fantasy XVI, in terms of just like regular Clive and not him becoming an icon. As for the Rising Tide DLC, I actually did have quite a lot of fun with that, and it kind of took all of the things I liked and enjoyed from the main game and put them all into one DLC. There's a great amount of combat and enemy variety, the bosses are really fun, they didn't include a crap ton of side quests that took up a lot of time or felt kind of boring. The side quests very much do build up the area that you go to in the DLC. It really explains a lot of the lore behind the world itself, why it's a secluded island and nobody knows about it. And it also has one of the hardest boss battles in terms of Clive being an icon, Ifrit, versus Leviathan. You can check out my Rising Tide video where I go a little bit more in depth with my review of that DLC, but if you want a challenge, and I mean a real challenge, something that's going to make you maybe like squeeze the controller in frustration and question if you are even skilled enough to play this game, then you will love the Rising Tide DLC. There's one specific moment in particular with the Leviathan battle that just had me dumbfounded because I didn't know what I was doing wrong. It's super tricky, requires a lot of finesse, and it basically requires you to have mastered every single combat skill and ability as Clive and Ifrit up to that point. You could argue that maybe it's a little too difficult, but I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that really enjoy it. And before I forget to mention, I'm pretty sure all of your save data progress from the demo will transfer over to the full game should you choose to actually buy that, much like it was on PS5. Now, as of right now, there's still no word on an Xbox port, and I only say Xbox because Xbox is really the only other console out there that could handle running this game. The Series X anyway. I have no idea if the Series S would be able to run this game without any compromises. I know the S is weaker than the X, and there's a lot of crazy technical aspects to 16. Big icon fights where, the frame rate has to stay stable, tons of particle effects, big groups of enemies. So I think they might have to release a slightly compromised version of 16 to run on a Series S, but the Series X could definitely run it. But I'm pretty sure it will come to Xbox eventually. Yoshi P again has made mention in previous interviews that he's trying his best to get the game onto other platforms. And this was well after they already announced the PC version. And we know that Square Enix and Microsoft have made a bit of a partnership with one another to kind of get back into each other's good graces. It was a pretty big moment during the Final Fantasy XIV Fan Fest that took place. Oh gosh, was it last year? I can't even remember now. There's been so much news, but they made a big deal of having Phil Spencer come out and talk with Yoshi P as well as the current president of Square Enix, and they took a photo together saying like, yeah, this is the beginning of a new partnership where Square is finally going to bring their games to our consoles. And for the longest time, Square Enix has been taking that bag from Sony to have those games stay exclusive to their platform. As we all know, it's kind of biting Square Enix in the butt lately. Sales have been low for some of their games, and that's just natural when you take a big franchise like Final Fantasy and you lock it down to one platform. You're severely limiting the amount of people that can enjoy your game, which really sucks. There's a lot of Final Fantasy fans out there that want these games on Xbox and PC, so here's hoping that they eventually, kind of die down with that exclusivity, which I think they're going to do. Square's already announced that, and they clearly realize, yeah, we can't be doing these exclusives. The money is nice, it's great in the short term, but in the long run, it's really hurting our profits and the lifespan of our games. So here's hoping, now that 16 has already been confirmed for PC and it's gotten a date, hopefully that means Final Fantasy VII Rebirth will be getting a PC release date sometime soon, or at least announced a PC port, which I know a lot of people are waiting on that one. There's going to be some pretty great improvements to Rebirth on the PC side of things in terms of resolution and frame rate. It's going to be pretty sick. So with that being said, that is the video. Let me know in the comments down below, were you somebody who skipped Final Fantasy XVI on PS5 because you didn't have a PlayStation 5, and were you specifically waiting for the PC version of this game to release to finally sink your teeth into it? I am Curious Corduroy. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.